Well, it's a wild time to be alive, as Governor Gavin Newsom might have cracked the code to troll the conservative media and get them to report on him, gaining lots of attention. Fox is appalled that Governor Newsom is basically copying Trump's playbook. Have a listen.
I don't know what he's trying to do, but it comes across as childish. And you're the governor of the biggest state in the union. What are you doing? Looked like he'd just eaten 3 buckets of KFC with Vlad. Admit it, Donnie J. You're terrified because this was the worst week of your life because of me, Gavin C. Newsom. I think he's trying to be funny. I don't know what he's trying to do, but it comes across as childish.
Yeah, that's the point. He's doing what Trump does. You know, Trump went after Rosie O'Donnell, who, by the way, we just found out today that Rosie O'Donnell follows our channel. Aaron Go Bragh. Is that what he's saying to those Irish people out there? Anyway, thank you, Ireland. Thank you, Rosie O'Donnell. You might not know this. We're a pretty big deal in Ireland. Been featured on Good Morning Today, the Irish, whatever the hell show is. Anyway, the point is, we love you, Rosie. I remember you from your days shooting off koosh balls to audience. I never got a koosh ball from you. Hit me up in the DMs. Well, let's make that happen. And speaking of, this is the trolling we're talking about. Governor Newsom tweeted an AI photo of him being preyed upon, and by preyed upon, I mean preyed on, by I was going to say Ted Cruz, Tucker Carlson, Kid Rock, and the late, say what you want about him, Hulk Hogan. Again, it's hilarious. It's provocative. It's edgy. It's just, because this is, Trump is superimposing himself in the Pope's outfit. Nobody can say anything about any politician's morality after what is going on out there. And here we have Fox sort of trying to understand the phenomena around Gavin Newsom right now.
Yeah, and I kind of think, I'm not sure if you'd agree on this, but the theory of the case coming out of the 2016 primary was basically like, no one can throw this back at Trump. Look at what Marco Rubio did in that one debate, and it backfired so spectacularly. Well, not everyone's Marco Rubio, and It turns out that they might actually be a bit underprepared for this. And I can tell you just from talking to folks both in the White House and who stay in touch with the people from the campaign who were in the White House, a lot of these folks are getting pretty burnt out, I will say also. Like in the comms shop, there is not a, how do I put this? It's a little too reactive, is what I've been hearing from a lot of people in Trump world. And they are kind of used to the way they dictated the tempo in the primary, where they're leveling all the attacks framing the debate.
And that's the idea, right? There was this idea that nobody could play Trump's game. Well, love him or hate him, or be indifferent about him, Gavin Newsom is playing that game. And not only is he playing that game through imagery, through the tweets and the mockery, he's also standing up to Trump by having an election, a special election, November 4th, which aims to redistrict, aka gerrymander, California to offset what is going to be going on in Texas. Here is a very interesting conversation about someone not yelling at a town hall, just practically, with intelligence and compassion, telling the Texas legislator exactly what they should be doing instead of gerrymandering.
It's important that we don't pretend that this is serving Texas. This is only serving politicians that are wishing to grovel and scrape for the scraps that are coming off the tables at Mar-a-Lago. There is nothing that benefits from this. I can see you roll your eyes, Chair King, but you know exactly what it is. You know exactly what it is. Families in Austin, Pflugerville, Central Texas, they shouldn't be represented by people north of Houston or in West Texas, out in Midland. And you shouldn't be picking your voters. The voters should be picking you. And at the end of the day, if conservative policies were so effective and so well liked, you wouldn't have to do this.
Bingo.
You know that you're losing, and you know that your policies are so inherently unlikable that you're having to cheat. And so instead of doing this, just do a better job.
Do a better job. Do a better job, and you shouldn't have to redistrict in order to win, areas that you are about to lose. Trump, in this, by the way, this is all election fraud, the way that this is all going down. But we see this play out all the time. Inner cities, we find out, have a very hard time casting their vote. A lot of times, and I've been there. I've been there in the middle of Koreatown, in Los Angeles, where you have to wait for hours to cast your vote. So a lot of people will do mail-in voting. During the pandemic, the Democrats did a lot of mail-in voting because it's safer. God forbid there's, inclement weather or something happens on election day that means you can't get to the polls. That is bad. That's not good. The best solution for our country is that we make it so easy for everyone to vote. And by that, have a national holiday where everyone gets a paid day off to vote. The election day should be like the 4th of fucking July in our country, where you take the day off, you barbecue with your family, you go there and you put the thing in the box and everyone's happy. Here's what Trump had to say. And again, this is a massive, massive issue. I'm going to lead a movement to get rid of mail-in ballots. And also, while we're at it, highly inaccurate, very expensive, and seriously controversial voting machines, which cost 10 times more than accurate and sophisticated watermark paper, which is faster and leaves no doubt at the end of the evening as to who won and who lost the election. Because they had this issue where they say, there was a blue wave that happened after midnight. That's when they would claim election fraud. And it's like, no, you idiot. And a lot of states and districts, they can't count the mail-in votes until after the day's over. So that's why it's like you might go to bed and think Republicans are up +3, but in the next morning, Democrats are up +2. And it's not because of voter fraud. It's because for whatever reason, Democrats are more likely to do a mail-in ballot. And again, I've been speaking with my people in the chat where, there's the military. They do mail-in voting because a lot of times they're serving overseas. There's elderly. There's people that can't get to a polling place and, live in certain areas. And this is going to be brutal. So if you get rid of mail-in voting, it's going to be brutal where polls are already stressed, which are cities which are, highly skewed Democrat votes. So this is a rough place for democracy. We are now the only country in the world that uses mail-in voting. I'm sure that's not true. All others gave it up because of the massive voter fraud encounter. Here's the thing with mail-in voting. You can mail a vote in. It's hard copy. That's got to be one of the safest things in the world. If you want to then audit, I'm using a check here. If you want to, look at that. I got paid money to do comedy. What are the odds? Rushhourwithdave.com if you want to see me perform. But if that paper vote, the mail-in vote, that's saved. You can audit that afterwards. So there should be nothing fraudulent about that. So anyway, they say, he goes on and on and on. Men playing in women's sports, transgender, woke. He does the whole bingo card of culture war issues. And again, I think a lot of the electorate are tired with this. There's a lot of people that have left the MAGA movement that understand grocery prices are going up because he's deporting every migrant worker. There's so many issues with inflation ticking back up. Not what people signed up for. Epstein files not being released. So not what people signed up for. It is a big day, though, in the world of the geopolitical news. Zelensky is showing up to the White House in an all-black suit, but no tie, after Trump complained about his previous attire. Look, I think it was the whole Zelensky thing was ridiculous. Can we just, okay, Ukraine was invaded by Russia. We know that, right? So many women and children have been kidnapped and killed, and the Ukrainian people have been decimated for decades and generations to come. As the average age of the Ukrainian soldier right now is in his 40s because all the boys have been. It's tragic what has happened, right? We all agree on that, I think. Well, now, you've got on one end Trump and JD Vance eviscerating Zelensky the last time he showed up in his wartime outfit. He doesn't want to wear a suit during war because he wants to, it's a PR move. It's to show that he's not dressing in the clown outfits when his people are fighting for their survival. And then, you watch Trump, he spend millions of dollars to do the flyovers and all the things they did to welcome Putin, who's a war criminal. Plain and simple. He's a war criminal. His government is kidnapping children. It's brutal. And people are like, make it make sense. Here we have Commander-in-Chief of the Maryland National Guard, Wes Moore. He is a instant sort of contender for upcoming presidential, the primaries, really, for the Democratic Party. Here is his very powerful message. As the governor of the state, you are the commander-in-chief of your state's National Guard. So we've seen Trump use the National Guard in California and also in D.C. Here's what he has to say. He says, Maryland ain't fucking around.
Maryland National Guard. Period and full stop. that I'm the 63rd governor of the state of Maryland, but along with that means I am the commander in chief of our state's National Guard and our state's Air Guard. And I will not authorize the usage of our National Guard for something that is not mission critical or mission aligned, period and full stop. So if the idea comes in, or if the request comes in to mobilize a National Guard in either one of our cities or another city, and I do not deem it to be mission critical or mission aligned, I can give you my answer in one word: no.
There it is. And, this is the world we need to live in, where you know what your political leaders are thinking, and you have to know where your sort of like red line is, where you're no longer negotiating. Gavin Newsom feels that there's no negotiating with Trump because he's tried to do that, and now he's saying no. Now it's war. Really, it's pushing on the brink of civil war, to the extent where they're saying we are not going to take orders from the federal government if those orders are unlawful. Period. Boom. That's it. So all I can ask of Wes Moore and Governor Newsom and anyone else who is even considering running for president, all I can ask of them is, please, for the love of God, don't take super PAC money. Please, for the love of God, come up with a tangible public healthcare option, universal healthcare. Come up with a plan so that we can have our young mothers and fathers out there afford paid family leave. Start to work towards how you're going to sort of take money out of the military industrial complex. Do all of the things that MAGA claimed it wanted to do, and show that you're not going to just, perform for your corporate donors. Too many of these governors and Democratic leaders have really taken money from places, and you'll hear Kamala saying, we want affordable housing for everybody. What the fuck do you mean by that? Like affordable renting? No, people want to be able to own homes. Take money out of private equity so people can invest in other people's livelihoods. Do the things that help out the middle class. People will flock to you. But there's so much distrust, and we need to get that back. We are seeing a tide change right now in this country. I'm telling you that. I live in rural Tennessee. I'm in the suburbs here. I'm not in Nashville where it's super blue. I'm in the burbs where I was surrounded by MAGA flags. I haven't seen one in months. Now is the time to put some shit together that people want, not what your donors want. We'll have to see. I mean, it is critical. All right, we'll be back in the morning. Twice a day, every day. I got your politics, your pop culture, everything in between. We'll see you then. I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.